Live. Well, good morning. My name's Derek Beer. I'm chairman of Dorset Council's Licensing Committee, and welcome to this morning's subcommittee meeting. We've got some formalities to deal with. Firstly, and welcome to you all. Firstly, we'd like election of chairman. Please, do I have a proposal?
Proposed.
Thank you.
Derek, seconded.
Thank you very much indeed. And now we'll just go through the formalities we have to deal with. Okay, so do we have any apologies, please?
Apologies for absence was received from Councillors David Shortell and Kate Weller, substituted by Councillors Jill Haynes and Claudia Webb. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you very much. And do we have any declarations of interest?
No.
No, thank you. Okay, is there any urgent business, please? Oops, sorry.
There are no urgent items. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, now we'll introduce ourselves so you know who's here. What we'll do through the meeting, it's a very fair and even process. Everybody, if there are more people here, everyone has equal chance to speak. If you don't understand anything, please ask. Don't be worried about asking if you don't understand the report or whatever. Just make sure you understand. At the end of the meeting, I'll go over it again later, we'll retire and consider everything we've heard, and then we'll come to our decision, which we'll let you know about. Okay? You happy with that? Okay, thank you. So firstly, as I've said, my name's Derek Beer, and on my right...
Hi, I'm Councillor Claudia Webb.
Good morning, I'm Councillor Jill Haynes.
Thank you. And I'll ask the officers to introduce themselves, starting with you, John.
John Miles, Democratic Services. I will be taking the minutes for the meeting.
I'm Chris Harrod. I'm the Senior Democratic Services Officer, just covering the technology.
Thank you. Now our legal representative.
I'm Laura Altsey from Legal Services.
Thank you. And our licensing officer.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Aileen Powell and I'm the licensing team leader and I wrote the report.
And if you'd be kind enough to introduce yourself formally.
My name is Michael Byrne. I'm the designated premises supervisor for Seals Cove.
Thank you very much. What will happen now, we'll ask Aileen to introduce and explain why we're here, which is obviously for a variation to your licence. Then we might ask if we've got any questions for that. You will as well, and that's how the meeting will progress. Is that okay? Thanks. So over to Aileen.
Thank you, Chair. So this is an application in front of you for the variation of an existing licence. The report is quite long and complicated, and I do apologise for that because the application itself is quite straightforward. The application is to increase the area that the licence covers by adding the rest of the inside part to the space that's already licensed, and to license the outside part of the premises. Environmental protection asked for a number of restrictions and conditions, which the applicant agreed to initially. However, they have now requested that they be allowed outside speakers, which would be amplified music for certain types of event. And although they've said that was to be background music, this could potentially be inconsistent with the conditions that were proposed by environmental protection. The Town Council's previous objection is sort of withdrawn. It's withdrawn provided that the Environmental Protection Team Leader 4th of June conditions are applied and adhered to. The Town Council have been sent a copy of the report, and that is when they made that conditional kind of withdrawal. There were 2 representations from members of the public, neither who have returned notices of attendance and neither of whom are here. And I have set out in the report at paragraphs 4.4 and 4.5 the parts of those representations that can and should be taken into account and those which are not relevant to your considerations under the Licensing Act. As you are well aware, your decision must be solely focused on the 4 licensing objectives: the prevention of public nuisance, the prevention of crime and disorder, protection of children from harm, and public safety. Now, all of this would be quite straightforward if it was not for the fact that certain entertainment is exempt from requiring a licence, and certain provisions of the Live Music Act and a regulatory reform order. Background music and any music that is incidental to a fair or a similar event is not classed as a licensable activity. However, if the conditions requested by EP are put on in full, there will appear to be a conflict on the licence, because any music going through those speakers will be amplified music. The Live Music Act and the Regulatory Reform Entertainment Licensing Order 2014 mean that any live and recorded music doesn't need a licence on alcohol licensed premises between 8 o'clock and 2300. It also renders any conditions on alcohol licences void if they apply to music between 0800 and 2300, where the audience is less than 500. Conditions can be activated if a licence is reviewed, but they can't at this point. If they're added, they won't count. So this leaves a dilemma of whether to include conditions on a licence. If you're minded to grant the variation, that they couldn't be enforced. So you could put all the conditions as proposed by Environmental Health onto that licence, but we would not be able to enforce them. We will not be able to make sure they are followed, and we would certainly not be able to prosecute on them. The advice in the guidance is always to have licences that are clear and to only use conditions that are enforceable. So I'm sorry, but you are left with this dilemma. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Aileen. That was nice and straightforward. Thank you. Members, do you have any questions for Aileen? Do you have any questions on the report as you've heard? No. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Sure. So over to you now, and if you'd like to tell us, bring us right up together what the business is about, what your ethos is, what your touchstones are, and how you intend to deal with the comments or the representations that have been brought, so we can go forward and make a proper decision. Okay, thank you.
So currently, we have a children's soft play centre, climbing wall. We've very nearly finished building the next part of it, which is a bar, but like a theme bar, if you like. We are eventually looking to be a family adventure centre, if you like. We've got Laser Quest coming soon, so we're trying to do something for all age groups. As far as I can tell, any objections have been with the use of the outside space. So there is a lovely little walk along the river. We are well aware that, we don't want to impact that. If anything, we want to try and improve it. But we do understand that local residences and that will have concerns, hence why we're more than happy to go along with anything environmental health or environmental protection say, i.e. things like making sure the outside space is empty by 10 o'clock at night and, being respectful with the lighting. The speaker, we're not actually intending to use it a great deal. They like the idea of it. If we have a Christmas market in the space, we could have Christmas music. Myself personally, I think one of the beauties of having a drink by the river is the peace and quiet. So while my boss hasn't insisted on the speaker, but has said he would like an outside speaker, it isn't likely to be used very often. Of course, that's easy for me to sit here and say and then play it 10 hours a day, every day but that is our intention. I'm not sure if you have any other questions about any of the other bits of the application, but please feel free to ask.
Obviously, the surroundings here are a bit intimidating, so if you have anything else to add later, then that won't be a problem. I'll just ask my colleagues if they have any questions for you.
Yes, thank you. There was mention in the paperwork about a planned shooting gallery. Is that the laser tag, or is there some confusion over that?
Yes, so upstairs we do also have what is effectively a shooting range. Chris applied for permission for it. It's obviously not going to be a live shooting range. The original idea was air rifles and BB guns, if you like. We're now looking at actually having it as like virtual reality shooting, so with lasers and a screen. It would be separate from the laser tag. That is another part of it. You need to see it to believe it. It's quite a beast. But no, again, obviously, with the shooting range, that there would never be any live ammunition. We'd never get insured, even if we wanted to. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Can you tell me what sort of numbers of people you have coming through and what sort of numbers you're envisaging growing to? Sorry.
Currently, the soft play is limited to 140 people per session for fire regulation reasons. Climbing, anything up to about 20 at a time. We have our capacity for we call it the Viking Village, the bar and dining area that will hopefully be opening up soon, is another 150. And then outside, if we were to get the license, in the one paddock, maybe 100 people. That's a guess. We haven't done the exact numbers for that.
So are you anticipating having all 500 of these at once?
No. So the plan is, again, we're very wary of, we don't want the bar to impact our existing business at the soft play. So at the moment, the plan is the soft play works up until about 5:30, 6 o'clock. Then the bar will open, so there'll be a natural flow. As for the outside space, we haven't really discussed on how it's going to work as such. The problem I have is I've come into this business and they've got a license, but they've only licensed certain areas. Now, again, it's hard to put it into words, but because of the size of the project, things are constantly changing. So I simply thought it would be prudent to just license the whole building, and that gives us a freedom then. It means we're not back here in 2 years with me asking for another little bit, or can I change that bit to that bit?
Thank you. The internal bit doesn't particularly worry me because I think that's just how you would normally do it from a business point of view. I agree on that. Can I go into the off-sales bit? Because that is new and that actually possibly concerns me more than anything else in the report. So can you tell me who, what, how, when you're intending selling alcohol to?
Yeah, certainly. So as I've mentioned, the bar is, we've themed it as a Viking Village. So we're planning on selling a great deal of mead there. It's because it fits, and it's also, it's growing quicker than most other parts of the market. So the off sales is purely if, you know, a holidaymaker or somebody comes in, tries a mead or something, we can then sell them a bottle to take away. We are next door to a Co-op and a Lidl. I really don't think anybody's going to come and pay my prices and then take their drinks out to the river or anything.
Thank you. And my final question is, so you're having a Viking session and they've all got a bit jolly, because I realise that quite a lot of your clientele will have to drive to get to your premise. So tell me a bit more about the control of that sale and people leaving the premise, perhaps not in the condition they should be.
Yeah, we have had discussions about that. I've had personal conversations with local taxi companies trying to, you know, sort of see if they could do a deal or whatever. We'll obviously have all taxi companies' details there. We are going to have security there as well. I appreciate there's only so much you can do to stop. If somebody decides they want to get in their car, there's only so much you can do. I would like to think that not many would. It's actually not as out of town as it looks. I walk to and from work myself every day. Again, I enjoy walking up the river there. Yeah, I'm not sure if you've got any suggestions as to anything that we haven't thought about. Then, you know, we're open to all ideas.
So finally, I would just really urge you, if you think there's somebody who isn't safe to drive, that you tell them that you don't think it's a good idea, and if they persist in it, that it is something as a policy that you phone the police.
Oh, absolutely. I was a manager of pubs for many, many years before I do this. I have actually taken keys out of people's hands before now. But yeah, in our operating procedures, we would obviously put in place that, you know, the staff be vigilant. You know, if they see anybody obviously intoxicated heading towards a car, like you say, either try and stop them or at least alert the relevant authorities. So, yeah.
And you've got another question.
Yeah, I would probably be more concerned about them walking along the river as well. I mean, I live near Weymouth Harbour, and that's had its own issues with alcohol. So I think, are you planning to have security just for specific events or for, you know, all the times that you're open?
So to begin with, the plan is to have security all the time that certainly the bar area is open. And then obviously going forward, so the plan is to go big and then whittle it down as we discover what our actual needs are. I mean, the walk along the river, it's not right on the river edge. It's you would have to stumble quite a way to find your way in the river. And again, so we're very aware of the fact that a big part of our business is a children's soft play. If we get any kind of reputation for drunkenness, drugs, anything like that, all of a sudden nobody wants to bring their kids to us. So we're very mindful of that. So the plan is very much, you know, I'm not anticipating being a late night venue. I'm not anticipating, you know, people leaving there obviously drunk. You know, we want people to enjoy themselves, but I don't think it's going to be that kind of venue. Well, I certainly have no interest in running that kind of venue anyway.
Thank you. As Aileen said, the report was quite complex and quite a lot to look through. I would imagine, this probably isn't a question, that the children in the soft play and the children and the adults having a drink. I was surprised when you said you'd have the soft play finished by 5 o'clock. I thought, I'm thinking of a beer garden. That's probably, I know you're not a beer garden, but if you're not, well, that is something that is quite common practice these days. I was a little surprised at your optimism on security right from day one. I would have worried, but are you confident that that's affordable and doable? You have made reference to it. Just one other thing while I'm there, you can do the two things at once. I did read in the report that you'd have the music at a reasonable level. I thought that was optimistic because for me, reasonable level has to be quite loud because these don't work, and for other people it can be wouldn't need to be so loud. So I thought that was a little, if you like, ambiguous. A reasonable level didn't make much sense to me, but I don't know if you've got thoughts on that.
So with that, with our initial talkings to environmental health or environment, I'm sorry if I mix them up. There was talk of us installing decibel meters. This is more for the outside than inside. I don't think the volume is any kind of an issue inside. So that was something they suggested to us. So we said, you know, we're basically happy to go along with any suggestions. So yeah, the only reason we really put in at a reasonable level is because it had already been suggested that we monitor that.
Thank you, members. Do you have any more questions at all for the applicant? Aileen, do you have any questions on what we've heard so far? And legal representative, you okay? Hey, thank you. Right, no one has any questions. So now it's your chance to sort of sum up, if you like. Give it some thought, take your time, deep breath, think about it, and then everything you say we'll take away, and we'll think about any conditions which might or might not be necessary to make it all work, and how it goes. This is your last chance to let us know anything you might have forgotten, how this thing is going to work in the future for everybody, for you, for the people who live round about, and indeed your local authority and so on. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we've pretty much covered everything, but yeah, just to try and give you an idea of what we're trying to create there. you know, I appreciate it's very easy for me to say that we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that, and then I get the license and I could turn around and do it. But that, it doesn't fit with what we're trying to achieve long term with the whole project. And as I've said before, we are more than happy to, you know, go forwards with any suggestions, any conditions or anything like that that you feel would be relevant. So yeah, and that's me. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions at all? No? Just ask our legal team if we've covered everything.
I think you need to let your licensing officer do her summing up, but everything else, yeah, good.
Thank you. What I didn't say was we have here read the representations. We have made note of those comments that were put to us. So we have read and understood those. We'll go away and consider. Now, if you have any problems with what we come up with, you do have the right of appeal within 21 days to Weymouth Magistrates Court. If anything should go wrong in the future, that things are not right and proper, people are not happy with what you're doing, then there is the right of a review. So we'll have you back and say, well, this isn't working very well and that isn't. Sorry, Ellie. Yeah. Yeah.
Unusually, I do actually want to say something. If it would be possible, please can you be very mindful that we get a licence that is clear and understandable by everyone. I say this because it is not just for the applicant, it is for the residents and the town council around it. They will ring us up if they don't think conditions are being complied with. It makes life quite difficult for us if we've then got to say, Live Music Act, they don't actually apply. So just please be mindful that it would be useful to have a very, very clear and understandable and consistent licence. Thank you.
Message clear and understood. Thank you. Are you happy that this has been fair and straightforward and everything's been clear, straightforward? We've asked all the questions and done it right. You haven't got any problems with how it went? No? Okay. Thank you. We shall now retire to a room with a legal representative and ourselves, and we'll come up and work out whether we grant the variation and then indeed what conditions might or might not be placed on. So, okay, happy with that? And as I say, you'll get the decision within 5 working days. Okay? Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.